Hi, it's Paul here from Lucidity Cloud Services in Auckland, New Zealand, and today I'm going to show you a quick demo of getting connected to Azure Virtual Desktop. So at Lucidity, we've been building remote desktop solutions for about 20 years now. We've done that on our own physical server hardware that we've had at data centers, but this new platform changes everything. With the services hosted on Microsoft Azure, it means that we can focus all our efforts on the customer solutions and getting the customer applications and databases all working nicely in the remote desktop world. So this new desktop has a lot of advancements over previous versions of remote desktop. It now allows you to do voice, video, multimedia activities like Zoom meetings and Teams conference calls. It's a lot faster as well. It's built on Windows 10 Remote Desktop 10, which is the latest version, and it's significantly faster than previous versions of remote desktop from my experience. So first of all, there's a couple of different ways we can get into it. So we can download the remote desktop client and install that on a machine or tablet, mobile device, Mac, or we can come in through a web client. So I can click here and just launch a new web browser tab, and we get the Microsoft login for AVD. So I'm just going to log in here with this test user, and this will now log you in. We'll go yes on that. This will log you into remote desktop web here, and this is where you'll see your remote desktop resources. So in this instance, I've just got a desktop, so I'm going to click on the desktop there, and it's going to launch my remote desktop session directly in a web browser. So I haven't had to install anything to do this. Here's my password, hit submit, and this starts my Windows remote desktop session in Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop. So you'll notice it's fast to load. Another really cool thing with Remote Desktop 10 is that the window will scale, so as I resize my browser, all the icons will rescale as well, and as well as going full screen. So there's a button up here where you can go completely full screen, and that is a full screen remote desktop session, and it scales all the icons accordingly. So that's really cool. You didn't have that work quite so nicely on the previous versions of remote desktop. So that's basically the experience. You can do a lot through here, but you can't do some of the multimedia stuff like the Teams conferencing. For that, you need the proper remote desktop client. So I'm going to load that up now and show you what that looks like to set up and configure and get into Azure Virtual Desktop. So this is the remote desktop application. The first thing here is to click on is to subscribe with URL. And then we click on this top link here, learn more. This is a bit of a convoluted process, but I've found that sometimes, depending on how companies' domains and things are set up, just trying to do a subscribe with a username and password doesn't work. So there is a URL here for Azure Virtual Desktop. We go and get that one there, paste that into there, and then you don't have to press enter. That will just discover the link, and this seems to work flawlessly, whereas I say sometimes, depending on how your domains and things are set up, it doesn't work the other way. So now we just type in our username and password. So I've just put this demo user in, and that's part of our device policy, we don't need to worry about that. And this will go and discover the resources again, very similar to the web client, and there we go, there's your desktop client there. Now just one thing to look at here is if you right click on this icon and go settings, you can change how remote desktop loads. So by default, if you've got multiple monitors, it will load up on all your monitors, but if you just want it to be on one single monitor, you can now control that from here, and there's a few other settings there. Right, now I can start the remote desktop session, and it will prompt for my password. Where are we? And we'll paste that in there. And then this will now connect us in, and it will connect to the session we were in before in the web browser. So we've kind of taken over the session here, and this is a full screen remote desktop session. Right, so now that we're in here, I'll show you some of the new stuff we've got going on. So number one, as I say, it's built on Windows 10, not Windows Server, which all our previous remote desktop solutions have been on. Remote Desktop Server wasn't the nicest place to be, but Windows 10 is far more familiar for people, and it's got much nicer start menu and search and all that kind of thing. So built on Windows 10 for a start. On here we've got Microsoft Office 365, so I've got all the familiar Office apps, Excel, Word, Outlook, etc. And the thing you'll notice here is just how fast everything is. It's just super responsive. I'll open up Outlook here. Outlook can be a bit of a beast to open sometimes. There we are, we're open and we're ready. And the multimedia side of things is really responsive as well. But we've got a few new things in here now. We can run Teams within the remote desktop session, and thanks to a thing called WVD optimization, which is a technology that Microsoft have brought out to allow us to use programs like Teams inside a remote desktop session. We can now initiate telephone calls, conference calls, and if whatever we do inside Teams, inside the session, we'll use our video camera and headsets and things on our local device. So that's called WVD optimization, and it means that you can do all the things you would with Teams inside a remote desktop session, so you're not having to go inside and outside of the session for meetings and voice. We've also got that same technology for Zoom meetings, so again, we can run Zoom with the video camera and audio experience, and also the WebEx product from Access 4, which is a telephone product that we sell. So directly from inside the browser here, we can make telephone calls and video calls. It just works seamlessly. So that really means that you don't have to maintain a separate phone system outside the remote desktop technology. Whether you want to do your voice calling through something like Access 4, which is a low-cost voice solution, or Teams calling, or Zoom calling, you can do all that from inside the remote desktop session. So users can go home, sign in on their own machines or home machines in a remote desktop situation, and have all their telephony and meetings software available to them, as well as all the other bits and pieces. So the whole of the Microsoft Office 365 suite is in here. I've got Acrobat on here, Microsoft Edge, so this is Microsoft's browser. It's a Chrome compatible browser, so for a lot of you that use Chrome, Microsoft Edge is essentially the same thing in the Microsoft world. We can install Chrome and Firefox if there's a requirement, but we find Edge does the job on 99.9% of the time. One thing you will notice in here is the speed of the internet browsing, and that because we're sitting in a Microsoft data center plugged into the backbone here, things like internet is just super fast. Just do a quick speed test here to give you an idea of the kind of performance you're getting inside your web browser, inside Azure Virtual Desktop. Which brings me on to the latency. So a lot of people have said to me, it's in Australia, is it slow because it's over there? I think on the contrary, this is faster than the platform that we've delivered here on the previous version of Remote Desktop. So Windows Server 2016 is what our previous managed desktop platform's built on, and this just smokes it, for lack of a better way of putting it. It is just far smarter technology. And built in a new kind of diagnostic system in the background with RDP10, which is looking at all your frame rate and everything. It's just a far more sophisticated kind of remote desktop experience. Same thing with the web client as well. Everything auto scales here, so you can have your remote desktop window in a smaller window, and all your things inside your session here all start menu icons will all scale with that. You've got Windows 10 search built in here. I think that's about it. We've got a little Lucidity managed desktop application here which controls your default printer, which has been a bit of a lifesaver over the years for some of our clients and remote desktop printing. OneDrive, that's another new thing which you haven't been able to do on remote desktop of old. So we've got full OneDrive and SharePoint in here. We can fully use the Teams file system experience here with Teams and file directories and things, and fully synchronize with SharePoint into our local profile. Modern Windows desktop experience, and then in the background we've got 3 different security systems working. We've got Sentinel-1 ransomware protection running, we've got the default Microsoft Defender, and then we're also using Fortinet client software for all the web filtering and monitoring of that too. So super secure desktop in the cloud. Come and talk to us today if this looks like it does interest you. Thank you. Bye bye.